Welcome back to Your Fantasy Nerd, and we are going to be taking you to our Week 3 rankings. Right off the bat, we're going to go ahead and run right into the quarterbacks here, going through 1 through 10. At number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, Russell Wilson. 3, Tom Brady. 4, Ben Roethlisberger. 5, Andrew Luck. 6, Matt Ryan. 7, Carson Palmer. 8, Peyton Manning. Number 9, Eli Manning. And at number 10, Phillip Rivers. So the first guy I want to highlight is Ben Roethlisberger at 4 on our rankings. I've got him at 5. Clearly, we all love him here at Your Fantasy Nerd. The guy put up a great game, had the most total fantasy points last week out of any player in the entire NFL. And what the guy, he just dominates. And I think the one thing that actually adds to his stock a little bit is the fact that Pittsburgh says that they're going to be taking advantage of the 2-point conversion, and they're going to be trying it almost every time they're on offense. So that gives you, if your league allows quarterback passing for 2 points at 2-point conversion, that's a huge boost, and I think that'll really help him out. He's going up against the Rams this week, who have a very good defense, but I'm not terribly worried just because Russell Wilson played okay against St. Louis, and I just think that he's in that category. Ben Roethlisberger, slightly better passer, I would say. So I think that Ben Roethlisberger is very safe this week. I love Big Ben. All right, now the next guy I want to talk about is Eli Manning at number 9. I was really shocked the other people on this panel had him so high. I've got him at 19. The thing about him, yeah, he had a good week last week. He played Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons the Atlanta Falcons defense is really terrible. And just they had no secondary at all. That's why Odell Beckham tore him up. And I really just think that game was kind of an anomaly. I just think Eli Manning's not that good. Take what he did against Dallas. I think that's what you're going to see more of this season. And I think that's going to continue against Washington at home at Thursday Night Football. I've always said it. I'm going to keep preaching it. It's a run-heavy game, all right? This is where the running backs take over. C.J. Anderson clearly didn't do it last week, but Jamal Charles certainly did. Just a couple fumbles here and there, but overall good game. But I just think that Eli is getting a little too much hype from last week, and I'm definitely not starting him if I have him. And Washington's defense isn't terrible, so I would just avoid Eli this week. All right, now going on to 11 through 20. At number 11, Drew Brees. 12, Teddy Bridgewater. 13, Ryan Tannehill. 14, Marcus Mariota. 15, Ryan Fitzpatrick. 16, Matthew Stafford. 17, Jameis Winston. 18, Derek Carr. 19, Andy Dalton. And at number 20, Tyrod Taylor. So I just want to talk about one guy on this list, and that's Matthew Stafford at 16. I've got him at 14, so I've got kind of a similar opinion. The thing about Stafford is he hasn't gotten off to the best start yet, but the entire Detroit offense hasn't looked terribly good, and I think that's going to change this week. I really like Matthew Stafford, not as much as a starting quarterback this week, but just someone to keep on your bench. Don't drop Matthew Stafford yet. I think he's someone you definitely want to keep, because I think what Matthew Stafford does at home is very nice. He's going at home against Denver, who's got a very good defense. Let's not get that wrong. But I think that game's going to be pretty high scoring, and I can see Calvin Johnson producing good numbers. I can see Matthew Stafford being a formidable, probably high-end QB2. So I'm not starting Matthew Stafford, but he's someone I definitely want to keep on my roster, maybe as trade bait eventually if he ends up having a good stretch of home games as he's just played 2 straight away games. All right, now we're going to move on to the running back position, going 1 through 10 right away. At number 1, Marshawn Lynch. Number 2, Jamal Charles. Number 3, Adrian Peterson. 4, Le'Veon Bell. 5, Matt Forte. 6, LaShawn McCoy. 7, Justin Forsett. 8, Carlos Hyde. 9, Jeremy Hill. And at number 10, Eddie Lacy. So the top 6 I feel like are pretty stable. They're pretty set in stone. I feel like those guys you can be confident with every week. Maybe not LaShawn McCoy, but the top 5 definitely. But the guy I want to talk about is Justin Forsett, slightly below him. I think this is where the tier, basically the top 5 and then everyone else, I think it's a crapshoot at that point. And I think Justin Forsett proves it here. He's ranked 7 in our combined rankings, but I've got him at 19, all right? The Cincinnati defense produces a lot of turnovers, and Forsett hasn't gotten off to that great of a start. I'm not one to usually point to the first 2 weeks as the set-in-stone expectations for the rest of the season, but just based on what I've seen from Forsett, he's catching the ball, but he's getting them for like 2-yard gains. He's really not looking like the PPR stud I think everyone thought he would be. He may still end up with about 60 catches, but that's not what everyone expected. People thought he would be the Matt Forte of when Mark Trestman was his running back in Chicago. So I just think that Forsett is slightly down in terms of his stock, But I've got him at 19, so I'm not saying sit him, but I do think he's someone you got to be wary about going into the next few weeks because he's never really been a starter his whole career except last year. So I'm a little scared about Justin Forsett going forward. All right, now moving on to 11 through 20 as the top 10 is kind of set in stone mostly every week. At number 11, Mark Ingram. Number 12, Joseph Randle. 13, Frank Gore. 14, Lamar Miller. 15, DeMarco Murray. 16, Chris Ivory. James Starks at 17. 18, Dion Lewis. Melvin Gordon at 19. And at number 20, CJ Anderson. So I want to talk about two guys on this list. First guy is Joseph Randle at 12. I've got him at number 6, okay? I am huge on Joseph Randle this week. Couple reasons. The Atlanta run defense is terrible. They are ranked last in fantasy points per game to running backs this season. That I don't think is going to change. The Atlanta defense is not good at home for Dallas. That's always good for Joseph Randle. And the thing with Joseph Randle, you look at what he's done in the past. Yeah, he didn't have a great week 2, but week 1 he actually played really well. If he can get a touchdown, this guy's going to be great. He just hasn't gotten in the end zone yet. That's what's been bothering people, I think. So definitely start Joseph Randle this week. I think he's an RB1, and I just think he's someone that you can start with the confidence because, first of all, they've got Brandon Weeden at quarterback now. That's not good for them. And I think they're going to have to lean on Joseph Randle in that run game. So I'm high, very high on Joseph Randle this week. All right, now the last guy I want to highlight from this list, Dion Lewis at 18. I have him at 28. That's not to say I hate Dion Lewis going forward, but he's not someone who I think is going to be the bell cow New England back. Having him at 18 basically says that we expect him to start every week, produce good numbers, and be a RB2 every week. I don't think that's Dion Lewis. They still have LeGarrette Blount there. When you look at what LeGarrette Blount has done in the past, I've actually got Blount one spot higher than him at 27. Yes, they didn't use Blount last week, but I'm not all that worried about it because Buffalo's got a very good run defense. I think they tried to avoid running the ball, and they passed a ton. 55 passing attempts, I believe, for Tom Brady last week. So I don't think that's going to continue. I think that when you look at this offense, they're going to kill Jacksonville early. So I think they kind of have to run the ball. I mean, are they really going to keep throwing it? They might. It's Bill Belichick. You never know. But I still think that they'll run the ball enough to give LeGarrette Blount the carries, and Dion Lewis will be on the sideline a lot, I think. All right, now moving on to 21 through 30. At 21, Isaiah Crowell. 22, Danny Woodhead. 23, Jonathan Stewart. 24, Doug Martin. 25, TJ Yeldon. At 26, David Johnson, Amir Abdullah at 27, Matt Jones at 28, Arian Foster at 29, barring that he stays on the field, probably won't play this week, but that's why we have him this low, and at 30, Rashad Jennings. So the only guy I want to talk about is Isaiah Crowell at 21. I don't have him ranked inside my top 30. Once again, that's not to say that I don't like Isaiah Crowell, but really there's just a lot of other guys that I like better than Isaiah Crowell. You can do better than finding Isaiah Crowell on your starting lineup this week. If you've got, I'm going to go to my rankings really fast just to remember guys. Yeah, if you've got Devontae Freeman, if you've got Shane Vereen, if you have Rashad Jennings, I'm starting them all over Isaiah Crowell. You drafted Crowell as like your 6th or 7th round pick, so he's not a huge loss. He hasn't played all that well, or he's played okay, but I think Duke Johnson by the end of the season will actually end up with more fantasy points, in my opinion, because I think that while Isaiah Crowell was okay last year, I just think they don't want to have to keep relying on him. And this Cleveland offense, with Josh McCown unfortunately at the helm now, I think won't be very good. So I'm avoiding Isaiah Crowell this week, even though he's in our top. He's at 21 on this, but I say don't start him. I've got him outside my top 30. All right, that'll wrap up the quarterback and running back rankings for week 3 of this week. As I said last week, you can check out our individual rankings at yourfantasynerd.com. And as always, subscribe here at Your Fantasy Nerd. So thanks for watching, folks.